Adrian, have a seat. Thank you for making the time to see me. Do you have anything that you wanted to discuss with me before I get into why I asked you to meet?
No, nothing's newsworthy right now.
Well, I wanted to check in with you because we have received a note of concern from one of the nurses who claims that she saw you with some tremors.
All right, hold on, Gerard. Now, I have noticed that I have had an occasional shake in my hands, but it's easily controlled and it's nothing that affects my ability to practice. I mean, just look at my data. My performance is far above that of anyone else in the ICU. I mean, this has to be being blown out of proportion. Who did you talk to?
Well, I understand this may be upsetting to hear, and you're certainly right. Your complication rate is negligible. But once we receive the nurse's report, even though you may not be aware of this causing you any issues, we became obligated to investigate this further.
This doesn't seem right to me. I mean, if physicians should be allowed to have an occasional hand tremor, I mean, it doesn't affect its performance. My numbers should speak for themselves. I haven't had a complication in over a year.
Well, I wish it worked that way, but my hands are tied. We need to get to the bottom of this.
All right. If this makes you feel any better, I've already been seen by a neurologist, a movement specialist.
That's terrific. Do you have a diagnosis at this point?
Can we continue this at another time? I would like to speak with my attorney.
Oh, okay. I'd like to get this issue addressed as soon as possible.
Actually, Kira, my wife, will be representing me. We'll schedule another meeting.
Okay, let's do that in the next week. Also, I'm going to talk to your department chair so he can get someone to fill in for you until this situation gets sorted out.
What? Fill in? Why?
Well, as this is a situation involving patient care, we need to think of safety first. Until we get this ironed out, it will be best probably to have someone cover for you in the interim.
That's going too far, don't you think?
Well, no. I'm sure it's fairly standard. Whenever we have a potentially significant patient safety issue, we need to err on the side of patient protection. I hope you can appreciate the hospital's position on this.
Everything okay? Sounded like there was something urgent.
Yes and no. Not much that could be handled right at this very moment. I'm suspended. Someone made a complaint that they saw me shaking, and of course it got to Dr. Martell and he called me in.
That's just perfect. What did they see exactly?
I don't really know. Dr. Martell told me that one of the nurses saw me tremor and reported it, but he won't give me any details.
So what did you do?
Well, I reminded him that I haven't had any complications, and I told him that I had been seeing a movement disorder specialist. I didn't have a choice. He was already talking about they were going to have an evaluation done. But don't worry, I didn't concede anything. I told him that I needed to speak with you first.
Sure, but this is pretty aggressive. Immediate suspension? Was anyone else involved in that decision?
I don't really know. He claims it's protocol. So now we have to show them that I'm not endangering patients. Apparently, my data didn't cut it.
It should, though. Your having a condition does not equal being impaired. This is an ADA case in the making.
Well, apparently it entitles them to pry into everything. As of today, my neurologist can't officially confirm what's going on, since I'm still doing the workup and they're still solidifying the diagnosis.
I know. And the ambiguity is not helping. As bad as it is, at least with a diagnosis, we can get them on board with what your neurologist has been implying. You're in the early stages, and you have a handle on what triggers your symptoms. You can manage this well for years.
Exactly. We need to have her put what we're discussing in a report. She's the expert. They can't argue with that. She needs to tell them that she thinks I'll be able to monitor myself to know when an issue might happen. You know I'd never want to hurt anyone.
And we don't want anyone forcing you out. Least of all Martel. You'll know when it's time. You should be able to retire on your own terms. You still have a lot to offer, Adrian.
Thanks, love.
With Jackie starting at state in the fall.
You don't have to remind me.
I know. Okay. So here's what we're gonna do. We're still in the early stages, and you know full well it hasn't caused any problems.
Look, I'm sorry, but this is a black and white issue. You've got to intubate people, start central lines, put in chest tubes, and with a progressive movement disorder. We just can't have that. If it's revealed that we knew about the situation and still let you do procedures, that's it. We're done. We just can't have you in the ICU no matter what.
You're just using this as an excuse because we never agreed on reimbursement for backup ICU on call.
That's preposterous. I'm just looking now for the safety of our patients.
On whose authority?
Well, I've spoken with the chief of staff, and he saw my side of the issue.
Hold on. Isn't there a process? Does everyone know your side of the story at this point?
Calm down. We'll take this through the MEC properly. As I said, this suspension is pretty clear cut. Until we know more, we need to take a protective stance.
Have you heard of the ADA? My husband's work is unimpeachable. You have no grounds to end his career based on an imagined impairment. Just so you know, Martel, if you go down this road, we will be on you with an ADA suit so fast you won't know it hit you.
Well, he approached the neurologist a few months ago, so he's known about this for a while. You'd think they would have had a complete workup finished by now.
Yes, but Arlene, if even without a diagnosis yet, how could he not come to us with this sooner?
Well, think about it from his perspective. I mean, I don't think it's malicious. I truly believe that he thinks he's just as safe as his peers. Now, maybe he's a little overly confident in his adaptive techniques, but let's give him the benefit of the doubt that he was going to disclose once he got the final report from his neurologist. And furthermore, Gerard, he's not the only one that's been sitting on information. It's taken me a while to find out about this too.
Oh, well, I'm so sorry. This situation has been evolving so quickly. And then Dr. Lee really threw me off guard when he shared his probable diagnosis. Frankly, I don't see any other option but to remove his privileges. Imagine what would happen if he had a complication and it came out that he has Parkinson's. This is a lose-lose situation for the hospital.
Well, I don't know if that's necessarily true. If we had an evaluation that we could trust and it showed that he was still safe to practice or could be made safe with reasonable accommodations, then I think we have a legal obligation to allow him to continue working. And that's going to require some ongoing monitoring and reevaluation, but I think we can work with Dr. Lee to make sure he's safe. On the other hand, if the evaluation was to come back and show that he is impaired, then at least we can say we gave him a fair shake.
Well, that seems reasonable. But where should we send him? Who is the best neurologist in town?
Well, I think we should be thinking outside of town, somebody who's unbiased either way. We had a situation similar to this at Children's, and there are specialists that are capable of evaluating physicians.
That makes sense. Well, I'm glad we got to talk this over.
Me too. I'll look into that other case and see how we handled it and make some calls.
Great. Well, let me know if you need anything else.
Will do.
I'll cut to the chase. The MEC has decided that you need an evaluation to determine if you are safe to practice.
We gave you all of the documentation. The neurologist is of the opinion that things are controlled at this time, and there's no need to restrict or suspend him.
I understand, But he is Dr. Lee's treating physician, and we need an evaluation from an impartial party, not just someone that you don't know, but also someone who has specific expertise in evaluating physicians.
Well, how much is that going to cost and who's going to pay for it?
Well, we've decided to pay for the evaluation, and we have set up a contract with the program so that the report will come to us. And of course, once we get the report, we'll share those results with you as well.
If I must.
Dr. Lee, we understand that this is a really difficult time, and we appreciate all of your hard work and service to the hospital. And we appreciate you working with the MEC so that we can come to a resolution on this issue.
Hey, Jen, Kira, thank you for meeting with us to review the results of your fitness for duty report. I'm sure that you're interested to have a look at it, so let's get right to it. Okay, I'll give you the highlights, and later you can read it more thoroughly. According to the neurologist, you are mostly symptom-free. More importantly, you were able to prove proficiency at the skills required at the ICU. They were able to compare you against their fellows and said that you did very well. However, they recommend that we tweak your scheduling a little bit so that you have adequate rest periods in between shifts, since fatigue can exacerbate your condition. And since this is a progressive disease, they'd like you to see you again periodically. And are recommending that we set the interval to a year for now.
See, we told you he was fine.
Yeah, I killed those simulators.
We're glad that's the case. And now we have some objective information to show that. So let's continue to work together on this because we want to see you do well. But we also want to be sure that we're not putting anybody else at risk.
Of course. Okay, let's get back to work.